the first time I saw the little superhero blanket in the back seat and realized my boyfriend still slept in the same bed with his ex. I stayed quiet and something in me folded in half. I didn't ask questions right away. I just stared at that blanket, at the tiny plastic dinosaur clipped to the car seat, and I swallowed the weird, sour feeling rising in my throat like it was my job. My name is Waverly. I'm 26, and I work as a dental assistant at a busy family clinic, the kind where people smile at you while lying through their teeth. I met Beckett at a grocery store on a Sunday night when the self-checkout kept screaming unexpected item in bagging area, and he leaned over like we were old friends and said, "It's always the bananas. The bananas hate technology." I laughed. I remember thinking finally someone calm, someone easy. He was a dad. He told me that on the first date, not in a dramatic way. Just, I have a kid. I'm involved. I'm not messy. He said not messy like it was a guarantee, like it was a label you could slap on a life and it would stay there. And for a while it felt true. He texted good morning. He brought me coffee when I worked early. He held my hand in parking lots like he was proud. When I met his son, he kept it gentle. Short visits, a park, a toy store, a soft introduction, like he was protecting everyone. So when his brother pulled me aside at a family cookout and said, "You know Beckett still sleeps at her place sometimes, right?" I honestly thought he meant on the couch, like a late pickup or a missed turn or a tired dad thing. I smiled politely and said, "Oh yeah, co-parenting is hard." His brother blinked at me. Then he did this uncomfortable little half laugh, like he wished he hadn't said anything. "No," he said. "I mean, well, in the bed. With her, like, all of them." I felt my face go hot. I remember the smell of grilled chicken, the sound of someone cracking open a soda, the sticky summer air. Everything stayed normal around me while my brain started tilting. "In the bed?" I repeated. He shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "He says the kid sleeps in the middle. He says it's normal." Normal. That word punched me harder than the actual truth, because I knew the ex. Not well, but enough. She smiled too wide when she met me. Her eyes lingered on Beckett like he was a prize she'd misplaced. Once at a birthday party, she'd brushed past me and said, "Sweet as sugar. I'm glad you're having fun with him. Just remember, I'm family." I told myself it was nothing. Some women just talked like that. But now, standing beside a cheap plastic table covered in chips and dip, I realized Beckett had never told me. Not once. He had looked into my face for over a year and decided I didn't deserve the truth. I waited until the next day to confront him because I didn't want to do it in the heat of a family party where everyone could watch my reaction like a show. He came to my apartment after work. He kissed me like everything was fine. He put his keys on my counter. He asked what I wanted for dinner. And I said, as calmly as I could, "Do you sleep in the same bed as your ex?" The question hung between us like smoke. His eyes didn't widen. He didn't choke. He didn't look confused. He just sighed, like I'd finally asked about something annoying but predictable. "Who told you?" he asked. That was my first answer. Not no. Not what are you talking about? Just who told you? My stomach dropped. "So it's true," I said. He leaned against my counter and crossed his arms. "It's not what you're thinking." "Okay," I said quietly. "Explain it to me then." He rubbed his face like he was tired, like I was the problem that had shown up in his peaceful routine. "My son sleeps in between us," he said. "It's not intimate. It's not sexual. It's just sleeping." I stared at him. "So you go to her house and you get into bed with her and you sleep there?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "When my son asks, he likes it. It makes him feel safe." I could feel my heart doing that slow, painful squeeze. The kind you get when you're trying not to cry, because crying will make the other person treat you like you're irrational. "And you didn't think to tell me?" I asked. He frowned like I'd asked him why the sky was blue. I didn't think it was a big deal. "A big deal," I repeated. He tilted his head. "You don't have a child. You wouldn't understand." The way he said it, it wasn't just a sentence. It was a door slamming shut in my face. A neat little hierarchy where his life, his choices, his ex, and his family sat on a higher shelf than my feelings. And that's when I realized something uglier. This wasn't about his son. It was about what he wanted to keep available. Because if it was about his son, there were other options. A sleeping bag, a movie night, a couch, a bedtime routine that didn't involve his girlfriend's boyfriend lying in bed with his mother. But Beckett didn't want boundaries. He wanted comfort. He wanted access. He wanted to be the hero in everyone's story, even if it meant I had to swallow my discomfort like medicine. I took a breath. "Has she ever tried to get back with you?" He hesitated for half a second, and that half second told me everything. "She said things," he admitted, but I shut it down. "Like what?" I asked. He looked away. "She told me she still had feelings. She said she missed us being a family." My fingers curled against my palm. I stayed calm. I forced my voice to stay level. "And you still get into bed with her," I said. "At night. In the dark. In private." "It's not like that," he insisted. But his eyes were hard now, defensive, like I was attacking him for being a good father. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just said, "I'm uncomfortable with it." He actually laughed. Not a big laugh. A small one. A dismissive one. "You're making this into something it's not," he said. "And I'm honestly confused why you're acting like this." There it was. The gaslight. Not the dramatic kind. The calm kind. The kind that makes you wonder if you're crazy because the other person looks so reasonable while you feel like you're drowning. I looked at him and realized he wasn't going to change his mind. He was going to train me. Train me to accept it. Train me to stop asking. Train me to feel guilty for having boundaries. And the scariest part, I had already been trained in other parts of my life. My sister used me as an alibi every weekend because my parents were strict and she had a secret boyfriend. I'd stand in the kitchen, nodding along while my mom said, "You girls were together at Maya's, right?" And my mouth would say yes before my brain could catch up. Then I'd feel sick for days because lying in my parents' house felt like swallowing broken glass. At work, I smiled at patients who insulted me. "It's okay," I'd say while my cheeks burned. Even at my dad's house. His wife once scolded me for noticing dried oatmeal stuck inside a coffee mug. She told me I was too young to understand politeness, like my age meant I should drink out of a dirty cup and say thank you. I had spent my whole life learning how to be quiet, so when Beckett stood in my apartment and told me I wouldn't understand, something in me went very very still, not angry. Clear. I didn't argue. I didn't list reasons. I didn't demand. I just nodded once and said, okay. His shoulders loosened like he'd won, like the storm had passed. He stepped closer and reached for my hand, and I let him. Because in that moment, I decided something. If he wanted to treat my comfort like it didn't matter, I would stop handing him mine. Over the next week, I acted normal. I texted back. I smiled. I asked about his day. I even said, tell your son I hope he sleeps good tonight, with a soft little heart in my voice. Beckett relaxed more and more, like he could finally exhale. And while he exhaled, I listened. I watched. I stopped debating him, and I started collecting reality. I remembered how his brother said it so casually, like it was common knowledge, like everyone knew except me. I remembered the ex's smile at the birthday party, the way she said, I'm family. I remembered the way Beckett didn't deny it. He only defended it. So I did something small. I asked one question to the one person who would answer honestly, his son's daycare teacher. I ran into her by chance when I dropped off a box of donated books from our clinic. She recognized me because Beckett's son had shown up with him once during pickup. She smiled. Oh, you're the girlfriend, right? He talks about you. I smiled back, sweet as sugar. Yeah, I adore him. He's such a good kid. She nodded. He is. He's been a little confused lately, though. My heart thumped. Confused? She lowered her voice like she didn't want to gossip, but it was already spilling out. He's been telling the other kids he has 2 houses but 1 bed. He said his mom sleeps on one side and his dad sleeps on the other. And he said sometimes dad brings another lady, but she doesn't sleep there. She just leaves. My stomach turned to ice. I kept my face neutral. I forced a laugh. Kids say funny stuff, but my hands were shaking as I walked back to my car, because now I had a picture. Not the sanitized version Beckett fed me. Not the kid sleeps in the middle, but a routine, a system, a life where his ex was still his bed, and I was the extra woman who came and went. And suddenly, every you wouldn't understand sounded like you're not allowed to know. That night, Beckett came over. He kissed me. He took off his shoes. He stretched out on my couch like he owned the place. Tomorrow I'm staying at her place, he said casually, like he was telling me he was grabbing milk. My son's been asking. I nodded. Okay. He smiled. See? You get it. I looked him in the eyes and smiled back, calm and soft. And right then, my phone buzzed. A notification, a photo, sent to me by an unknown number. A picture of Beckett's car in her driveway, taken from close. Taken recently, with a timestamp. And the message under it said, he's lying to you too. My lungs stopped working for a second. Quick real-life pause. When I'm editing these late at night, I get tired. And your comments are what keep me going. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me your city, state, or country, and your first name if you want. Alright, now let me take you back. I didn't show Beckett the message. I didn't ask who sent it. I didn't do anything loud. I just set my phone down, kept my smile, and listened to him talk about how dramatic women can be. How his ex gets emotional. How he's just trying to keep peace. He was so comfortable. So sure I was under control. And while he talked, I quietly opened my laptop, because if someone wanted to warn me, that meant there was more. And I was done being the last person to know. My cursor blinked on the search bar like it was daring me to stop pretending. I didn't type his name first. I typed her name. Because in every story like this, the ex isn't just a person. It's a doorway. A set of habits. A routine that never actually ended. Her social media wasn't private. Of course it wasn't. She wanted to be seen. The first thing that came up was a smiling photo of Beckett's son holding a cupcake bigger than his hand. The caption was something about my boys with a little heart. My boys, plural. I scrolled, slow and careful, like touching hot glass. There were more pictures. Some had Beckett in the background, cropped like an accident. Some had a male arm holding the kid, tattoo visible, wristwatch familiar. Some were older, some newer, and the whole time my brain kept doing this awful math where it tried to line up dates with my memories. The sick part was how easy it was to explain away. Co-parenting. A birthday party. A school event. A family holiday. But then I saw a photo that made my mouth go dry. It wasn't Beckett. It was his hoodie. The exact gray hoodie I'd washed at my apartment last month, the one that smelled like his cologne even after it came out of my dryer. The photo was of her sitting on a couch with the hoodie pulled over her knees, bare legs tucked underneath it like it belonged to her. The caption said, "Nothing feels like home." I didn't cry. I didn't throw my laptop. I didn't storm into the living room and confront him like a movie. I just stared, and my body did this strange thing where it went cold, but my thoughts went sharp, because the big betrayal wasn't even the hoodie. It was the fact that he was in my apartment, sprawled on my couch, acting like I was finally understanding, while another woman publicly used the word home. I closed the laptop. Then I picked up my phone again and opened the message from the unknown number. He's lying to you too. I hit reply with one finger, then stopped. I didn't know who it was. It could be her. It could be someone trying to stir drama. It could be a scam. It could be nothing, so I didn't respond. Instead, I did something I'd never done in a relationship before. I made a folder. A simple folder on my phone labeled receipts. Inside it, I saved the screenshot of the message. I saved the hoodie photo. I saved a screenshot of her "my boys" caption. Then I added something else. A note with dates written out in words, not numbers, and little reminders of what he'd said to me on those days. Stayed late at work. Out with brother. Too tired, fell asleep early. It felt petty. It felt sneaky. And yet, it also felt like breathing for the first time in weeks. Beckett was still talking on my couch, telling some story about a coworker who couldn't handle a basic schedule. He laughed like he was the stable one. I walked into the living room with 2 glasses of water, set one on the coffee table, and sat beside him. He reached for my hand again. I let him hold it. He squeezed, warm and confident. "See?" he said softly. "We're good." I tilted my head. "We're good," I repeated. He smiled like he'd won an argument without raising his voice. And I realized that's exactly how he liked it. Not loud fights, not obvious cheating, just soft manipulation, just the quiet kind of control where he got to say I was overreacting, and then watch me adjust my boundaries until they disappeared. He stayed a little longer, kissed my forehead, then got up to leave. At the door he paused. "Tomorrow I'll probably be off my phone." phone. You know how it is when I'm there. There. He didn't even say her name. Like she was a location. Like she was a necessary stop on his route. Not a woman with a bed and feelings and a history he was still feeding. I smiled. Of course. He looked relieved, then left. The second my door clicked shut, I didn't collapse. I didn't do the dramatic shaky slide down the wall. I walked straight to my bathroom, turned on the faucet, and washed my hands like I'd touched something dirty. Then I stared at myself in the mirror. My face looked calm. My eyes looked awake. My mouth looked almost amused, and that scared me more than the sadness, because it meant something had snapped into place. I wasn't begging to be chosen anymore. I was choosing what to do next. The next morning at work, I couldn't focus. A kid cried in the chair while I tried to hand the dentist the right tool, and my thoughts kept drifting back to that photo and that message and that word, home. On my lunch break, I went outside and sat in my car with my phone in my lap. I finally replied to the unknown number. Who is this? The typing dots appeared almost instantly, like they'd been waiting. Then a message came back. Someone who got tired of watching you get played. My throat tightened. Are you her? I typed. No. The reply came. But she isn't the only one. Not the only one. My skin prickled. I stared at my steering wheel so hard my eyes blurred. I typed, what do you mean? This time the typing dots took longer. Like the person was deciding how much to reveal. Then he tells every woman the same story. That he's just a good dad. That you're the insecure one if you question it. I swallowed. Who are you? I typed again, firmer. The reply came with a screenshot instead of a name. It was a text thread. Beckett's name at the top. A message from him that said, I can't talk much when I'm at her place, but I'll make it up to you. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand unless you had a kid. My stomach flipped. He'd used the exact same line on someone else. Like it was scripted. Like he'd practiced it until it sounded reasonable. The next message from him in the screenshot said, she doesn't mean anything. I'm just keeping peace for my son. My fingers went numb. The person added, he told me he and you were not serious. He said you knew about everything. I let out a breath that sounded like a laugh but wasn't. Because suddenly every moment I'd questioned myself made sense. The way he'd stay vague. The way he'd talk about drama like it was always someone else's fault. The way he'd paint himself as the calm victim of emotional women. He didn't want a partner. He wanted multiple women to orbit him, each thinking she was the reasonable one. I typed one last thing. Why are you telling me this now? The reply was quick. Because she just found out about you, and she's about to do something messy. I figured you deserved a chance to stay clean. Messy. My mind immediately pictured a public post. A confrontation. A message to my job. A scene at my apartment. My heartbeat sped up. What is she going to do? I typed. The typing dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally. She's going to prove he still belongs to her, and she's going to try to make you look stupid in the process. My hands tightened around my phone, so that was the plan. Not just cheating. A performance. A humiliation. And the worst part was, Beckett probably didn't even see it as cruel. He'd see it as women being dramatic, while he stayed the innocent dad in the middle. I sat there for a long time breathing through the panic. Then I did the one thing I knew would keep me steady. I made another folder. This one wasn't called receipts. This one was called timeline. And I started organizing everything like I was building a case, not a breakup. Because if someone wanted to make me look stupid, they were going to have to fight facts. That evening, Beckett didn't text me at all. Not even a good night. He used to send something every night, even if it was lazy. A heart, a sleep good, a meme. But now there was nothing. I waited until it was late, then I sent one simple message. Hope you and your son had a good night. He replied almost immediately. Yeah, busy going to sleep. No heart, no warmth, no pet name, just cold efficiency. I stared at his reply and felt something darkly funny rise in me because I finally saw the pattern. When he was in control, he was affectionate. When he felt questioned, he punished with distance. And he expected me to chase him back into sweetness. I didn't chase. I just sent, okay. Then I put my phone down. The next day I got a follow request on social media. It was her. Her profile photo was her smiling with Beckett's son on her hip like a trophy. The name matched what Beckett had told me, but the bio didn't. The bio said, Mama Blessed, building my family. My family. Again. I didn't accept the request. I didn't decline it either. I just let it sit there like an unanswered knock. An hour later, she messaged me anyway. Because of course she did. Hey girl, she wrote. I think we should talk. My chest tightened, but my face stayed calm. I didn't answer. 2 minutes later, I'm not trying to be rude. I just feel like we should be on the same page. 5 minutes later, it's about our kid's stability. Our kid, not his. Ours. Like she was already pulling me into her language, her territory. I stared at the messages until my eyes stopped burning. Then I replied with the smallest, safest sentence I could think of. I'm at work. What's up? Her reply came instantly, like she'd been waiting with her finger hovering over the screen. I didn't know he had a girlfriend, she wrote. He told me you were just some girl he talks to. I felt my stomach drop, even though I already knew. And yet, seeing it typed out like that hurt in a different way. Not because I believed her, but because I could picture Beckett saying it, casually, like I was disposable. I typed slowly. He's my boyfriend. We've been together over a year. She sent a laughing emoji. Then, no offense, but that's not possible. My hands went cold again. Then she sent a photo of Beckett asleep in her bed. And his son was not in between them. His son was nowhere in the photo at all. Beckett's arm was draped across her waist, his face pressed into her shoulder like he belonged there. The timestamp on the photo showed it was taken recently. I stared at it until my vision narrowed, and in the middle of all that nausea, one thought came through, clean as a bell. He didn't just lie. He built the lie using my silence. I didn't respond to her right away. I didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me spiral. I took a screenshot, saved it to receipts, then I opened my notes and wrote one sentence. Tomorrow I stopped being quiet. Not loud, not dramatic, just no longer available for a story. I put my phone down and finished my shift with a smile so professional it felt like armor, because I already knew what my silent revenge would be. I wasn't going to expose him to everyone. I was just going to show the truth to the one person he could never manipulate, himself. I drove home with my hands locked at 10 and 2, jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. escaped. The sun was going down, and every red light felt personal, like the universe was forcing me to sit still with a truth I didn't ask for. When I walked into my apartment, it smelled like the lavender candle I always lit when I wanted to feel safe. That smell had comforted me through lonely nights, bad work days, and my sister's drama. Now it just made me angry because Beckett had sat in this exact space and acted like my discomfort was childish. I didn't pace. I didn't spiral. I took my laptop out. I plugged my phone in. I poured a glass of water and didn't drink it. I just set it beside me like a prop. Then I opened my timeline folder and read through everything. Once, slowly, like I was preparing for court. His brother's words. The hoodie photo. The unknown numbers screenshot with Beckett's script. The follow request. Her messages. The photo of Beckett asleep in her bed. The photo was the sharpest piece because it destroyed his whole kid in the middle story in one silent, humiliating frame. I didn't respond to her again that night. Instead, I typed one message to Beckett. Hey, tomorrow night, can you come by? I want to talk, in person. He replied fast. About what? I stared at that question and felt my stomach twist. A year and he still thought I owed him soft answers. I typed, just come. A minute later, okay. No heart, no you good, no concern, just okay. I slept like garbage. Not because I missed him, but because my body didn't know how to relax while my brain was building an exit plan. In the morning, my sister called me. Her name flashed on my screen, and for a second, I almost ignored it because I couldn't hold anyone else's chaos right now. But I answered because she was still my sister. You sound weird, she said immediately. Are you sick? I looked at my reflection in the dark microwave door. No, I'm clear. She laughed softly. That's the scariest thing you've ever said. I didn't tell her everything, not because I didn't trust her, but because she'd want to go nuclear for me, and I didn't want fireworks. I wanted precision. I'm ending it with him, I said. A pause. Oh, finally. I blinked. Finally? She sighed. I never liked how he talked to you. That you don't understand stuff? That's not love. That's training. Training. That word landed like a stamp on everything I'd been feeling. I swallowed. I'm handling it tonight. Do you want me there? She asked. No, I said. I need to do it alone. Okay, she replied, and her voice softened. After you come here. I'll make you pasta, and you can just sit. No talking if you don't want to. I closed my eyes for a second. Thank you. When I got off the phone, I realized my hands weren't shaking. That was new. At work, I kept my day normal. I cleaned instruments. I handed over tools. I made small talk with patients who wanted to tell me about their grandkids and their vacations and their new dentures. But inside, I was counting the hours to my own freedom. Beckett showed up that evening wearing the gray hoodie, the one I'd seen on her couch. He walked in like he belonged. He kissed my cheek like he was checking off a task. He glanced around my apartment like he was looking for evidence of a problem. What's going on? He asked, already annoyed. I gestured toward the dining table. Sit. He didn't sit right away. He hovered, arms crossed, posture defensive. You're acting weird, he said. If this is about my son again, it's not about your son. I cut in, still calm. Sit down. He finally pulled out a chair and sat, but he did it like he was humoring me. I sat across from him and slid my phone onto the table, screen down. For a moment, we just looked at each other. He tried to smile. Babe, you're freaking me out. I tilted my head. Am I? His smile fell a little. What is this? I flipped my phone over and opened the photo his ex sent me. I didn't push it across the table dramatically. I just turned the screen so he could see it. His face changed so fast it was almost impressive. First confusion, then recognition, then this thin layer of anger, like he'd decided the problem was me seeing it, not him doing it. He stared at the screen. Where did you get that? I said nothing. His eyes flicked up. Did you go through her stuff? Did you talk to her? Still nothing. He pushed the phone away like it was dirty. This is out of context. Okay, I said softly. He blinked, thrown off. He expected me to argue. He expected emotion he could label as irrational. I tapped my phone and opened the screenshot of his text to the unknown woman, the one with his exact line. You wouldn't understand unless you had a kid. I turned it toward him. His throat bobbed. What is this? He demanded. It's you, I said. He scoffed. That could be fake. I opened the next screenshot and the next. The keeping peace line. The she doesn't mean anything line. The same pattern, the same script. Then I opened the messages from his ex where she claimed he told her I was just some girl. Beckett's eyes darted over everything, and I watched him searching for an escape route. Finally, he looked at me and said, like a lifeline, you're letting her manipulate you. I nodded slowly. That's what you said I'd do. Remember? His eyebrows knit. I leaned forward slightly, voice still even. This is why you didn't tell me you slept in her bed. Because if I knew I'd leave and you didn't want to lose options. His jaw tightened. It's not like that. I picked up my glass of water and took a slow sip. My hand didn't shake. Then I set the glass down and said the simplest, sharpest sentence I could. Stop calling it co-parenting when it's cheating. His face flushed. I didn't cheat. I opened my phone again and zoomed in on the photo. The one where his arm was wrapped around her. That's not your son's bedtime routine, I said. That's you. He stared at the screen, and for the first time his confidence cracked. Not guilt, not remorse, just panic. Because he realized he couldn't talk his way out of a picture. He leaned back in his chair, trying to reset. Okay, he said slowly, forcing calm. Let's say mistakes happened. We can work through this. You know I love you. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was insulting. He had spent a year teaching me to doubt myself. And the second the truth showed up, he reached for the magic word, love. Like it could cover everything. I sat back too. No. He blinked hard. No, I repeated. We're not working through this. His mouth opened, then closed. You're really going to throw this away over sleeping arrangements? Sleeping arrangements. I stared at him and a memory hit me so clearly it made my skin prickle. The first time he told me I wouldn't understand because I didn't have a child. He said it with the same tone he used now, like my feelings were a minor inconvenience. So I smiled. Not warm, not mean, just finished. You're right, I said. I don't understand. His shoulders relaxed a fraction like he thought he'd won. Then I added, I don't understand how you look at your son and think this is what love should look like. His face hardened again. Don't bring him into this. I'm not, I said. You did. Every time you needed an excuse. He pushed his chair back, suddenly angry. So what, you're just done? After everything? After I introduced you to my kid? I nodded. Yes. He scoffed. You're being dramatic. I didn't react. I reached into the drawer beside me and pulled out a small envelope. I'd prepared it earlier. Inside were the things he'd left at my place over time. His spare key, the cheap bracelet he insisted I wear, a pair of socks, a phone charger. I slid the envelope across the table. Your stuff, I said. He stared at it like it was a slap. You made an envelope? He snapped. I shrugged. I like being organized. He shook his head, voice rising. So that's it? You're just going to blindside me? Blindside. The word made my eyes sting, but I didn't let it show. I picked up my phone again, opened my notes, and read one line out loud. Tomorrow, I stopped being quiet. Then I looked him straight in the eyes. This wasn't a blindside, I said. This was me finally listening to what you've been telling me the whole time. His mouth tightened. You think you're so smart? I nodded again. I think I'm done being convenient. He stood up abruptly, chair scraping. You're making a mistake. I stayed seated. No, I'm correcting one. He paced a step, then turned back like he was about to unleash something cruel, the kind of line meant to bruise. And I watched his face change when he realized bruising me wouldn't work anymore. He grabbed the envelope, stuffed it in his hoodie pocket, and walked toward the door. At the door, he paused. He didn't look back. You're going to regret this, he said. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just said softly, you're going to miss how easy I was. He froze for half a second, like the sentence hit a place he didn't want touched. Then he left. I locked the door behind him and leaned my forehead against it. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted to feel the solid proof that he was on this other side of my life now. I walked back to the table, picked up my phone, and opened my receipts folder one last time. Then I did my final quiet move. I sent Beckett one message. Not emotional, not long, not a paragraph he could twist. Just the photo of him in her bed, followed by one line. Don't ever tell another woman she wouldn't understand. When you're the one who can't understand loyalty. Then I blocked him. I blocked his ex too, without replying again. I didn't leave room for a scene. I didn't leave room for a performance. I just removed my access like a light shutting off. When my phone went silent, my apartment felt different. Not empty. Mine. I packed up the hoodie he'd worn into a trash bag and dropped it in the outside bin. I washed my sheets. I opened a window. I let cold air sweep through the place like a reset button. Then I went to my sister's house. She made pasta. She didn't ask questions. She just sat beside me while I ate, like she was guarding the calm. Later, when I got home, I checked my phone out of habit. There was a new message request from the unknown number. One more thing, it said. Check your boyfriend's notes app if you ever get access again. He keeps a list. A list. My stomach turned, but my mind stayed clear. I didn't need more proof. I already had closure. Still, I opened my laptop and searched my own memory. The little moments that used to confuse me. The nights he'd go quiet. The weekends he'd vanish. The way he'd call women emotional like it was a diagnosis. I realized the list wasn't the twist. The twist was that I'd been the only one trying to be real. And now I was the only one walking away clean. I turned off the lights, climbed into my freshly washed bed, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Because the truth is, Beckett didn't lose me when I found out. He lost me the first time I stayed quiet, and he took that silence as permission. And this time, my silence wasn't permission. It was the sound of the door locking behind him forever.